Okay, I think we're going to start now, and you're either I want to invite the most venerable Prate Puttivites, the president of the Council of the Thai Bhikkhus in USA, and he's from the Wat Puttawat, Houston, Texas. And นิมนต์ครับหลวงพ่อครับ
อะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธภะคะวาพุทธังภะคะวันตังอะภิวาเทสวากาโตภะคะวะตาธัมโมธัมมังนะมัสสามิโยบัตติปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆสังฆังนะมามิธัมมังพุทธัสสะภะคะวะโตปุพพะคะนะมะกะระกะโรมะเสนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะใครเป็นผู้แนะนำก็ขอนิมนต์ท่านเจ้าคุณดำเนินการเลยครับได้ยินหรือยัง
ท่านเจ้าคุณเปิดไมค์ด้วยครับ
โอเคครับผม on behalf of the Council of the Thai Bhikkhus, I want to say thank you for Kathryn Chindaporn. You know, Kathryn Chindaporn, she is born and raised and living in Washington, but she helping the Achan Tong, Luang Pu Tong, and living in Chaingmai and teaching, take care for the foreigner to come and learn the meditation in Chaingmai. Today, she is accept to come and give a Dhamma talk. That's a very good topic. I think everyone know. And the Council of the Thai Bhikkhus, you know, we have about 500 the missionary monk now around the country. And the board member try to improve, you know, the way of the spread the Dhamma and the improve for the monk the duty. And I think for the Zoom also is the one project is very good for the Council of the Thai Bhikkhus. And today I would like to invite the Casey Thompson to introduce the speaker. Okay, Casey.
Thank you, Ajahn. It's so great to welcome Kathryn Chindaporn to give the talk today about Vipassana, the way to true peace and happiness. Like Ajahn Riti said, she was born and raised in Washington State. In 1986, she traveled to Chaingmai, Thailand, and studied Satipatthana Vipassana meditation with Most Venerable Chow Kunpa Pramomongkol V. Sorry if I mispronounced that. She and her husband Tanat developed the International Department of the Insight Meditation Center at Wat Phradhatu Sri Chomtong Voravihara, which holds ongoing courses in Vipassana meditation for students from all over the world. She's also taught many courses, and in 2000, Kathryn was the recipient of the Benefactor of Buddhism Award. Thank you so much for coming here today, and we're excited to hear your talk.
Homage to the Exalted One, the Worthy One, the Supremely Enlightened Buddha. There is one way, Bhikhuss, to the purification of beings, to overcome sorrow and sadness, to be free from pain and suffering, to realize the truth of life, the true path, and to attain Nibbana. That is to say, the four foundations of mindfulness. I wish to pay homage to the perfectly enlightened Buddha and to my teacher, Most Venerable Jaukun Prapo Mongkon Vri Lompu Tong Sirimankalo, who recently passed away. I wish to offer my respectful greetings, Krograb Namasakan, and give my thanks and appreciation to Pratep Puti Witet, President of the Thai Bhikkhu Council of America, Abbot of Wat Putawad, Houston, Texas. And also my thanks and appreciation to Tanjaukun Pra Wited Siti Tamapon, Pra Ajan Liti Tirajito, Abbot of Wat Atamayataram, Vice President of the Thai Bhikkhu Council of America, who has kindly organized the seminar and invited me to speak on this occasion, and to all of the Venerable Ajans, Prapiksuk, Samanen, monks, novices, nuns, and family, friends, students, and listeners who come to join this talk here today, with my special thanks and appreciation to Casey and also to Mechi Jean, who helped me to join this event. Today, I would like to give a short introduction on the method of Satipatthana Vipassana in honor of my teacher, Most Venerable Jaukun Prapo Mongkon Vri Lompu Tong Sirimankalo, who has recently passed away, and in honor of my father, who has also recently passed away. And I wish to share the merits with my mother and my family, and for all of us who wish to overcome the massive suffering and who are seeking to realize the way of happiness as taught by the Lord Buddha. Today, I would like to give a short talk about the one-way path, the path of purity, which leads to the Four Noble Truths and to the realization of Nibbana. This talk is adapted from several translations I published of Dhamma talks given by my teacher, Lompu Tong Sirimankalo, focusing on the practice of Satipatthana Vipassana, or insight meditation based on the four foundations of mindfulness, to the highest good. This teaching is the natural law discovered by the Lord Buddha. It is the living truth, amattatam. This information can truly lead all beings to overcome suffering. As we all know and can see very clearly, nowadays our world is full of heat, turmoil, and chaos. Everywhere in the world, in society, the same old problems and stressful conditions arise, which are very difficult to overcome. People disagree with, argue, and fight with each other. They curse at and discriminate against each other. People are jealous. They tell lies, cheat, and steal from each other. People slander, backbite, and take revenge against each other. Desiring gain, rank, and praise, people fight, argue with, and destroy each other everywhere in the human world. These unwholesome worldly qualities and conditions are not caused by the natural environment. Rather, these suffering conditions are caused by the human beings themselves. The teachings of every true religion and civilized society work to prevent and solve these problems and bring peace and happiness to the world by teaching people to do good and beneficial deeds and to avoid doing harmful and evil deeds. The supremely enlightened Buddha, the founder of Buddhism, not only taught people how to do good deeds and to avoid evil deeds, the Lord Buddha also taught people to purify their hearts and minds. As the exalted Buddha taught in the Ovada Patimokkha, the admonition of the Buddha, Sapapapasa akaranang, kusala supa sampata, sajita pariyota panang etang putana sasanang. Avoid evil, cultivate good, and purify one's mind. This is the teaching of all the Buddhas. The method of mental purification is not specifically taught in other religious traditions in the world. It can only be found explicitly detailed in the teachings of the omniscient Buddha. The Lord Buddha discovered that in order for people to truly overcome all kinds of unwholesome negative conditions and suffering, people's minds must be purified of kilesa, which are the defilements, impurities, or mental pollutions consisting of desire, anger, and delusion. Defilements are the original cause of all harmful thoughts, speech, and actions. Thus, defilements are the root cause of all the suffering in the world. Once their minds have been purified of defilements, people would not perform evil deeds. Their minds thus purified, people would be able to perform only good and wholesome deeds. Therefore, true goodness and happiness would arise with the purification of the mind. Once the mind is purified, one can truly be happy. Only then can suffering, which is caused by the defilements, finally cease. The way to purify the mind, the practical method which the perfectly enlightened Buddha has handed down to us, is called kamatan, or meditational exercise. The basis of practice, which is the most perfect and most direct method of mental development, or bhavana, leading to the purification of the mind, appears in the scriptures. In the Mahasatipatthana Sutta of the Tika Nikaya, the great discourse on the four foundations of mindfulness of the long discourses, it is called the Satipatthana Vipassana Kamatan, or insight meditation based on the four foundations of mindfulness. In this teaching, the Lord Buddha pointed out that this practice path is the ekayanomak, the one-way path, the direct way, leading to the purification of mind, leading one to overcome suffering, leading directly to the realization of the noble path, fruition, and nibbana. This is the path to purity and to true peace and happiness. What is Vipassana? Vipassana is a Pali word which means seeing clearly, seeing specially, seeing into, or seeing through. The word vi means clearly, specially, into, through, plus passana, meaning seeing. Thus, Vipassana means seeing clearly, seeing specially, or intuitive wisdom, intuitive knowledge, or inner knowing. Vipassana is often translated as insight. Seeing clearly what? Insight into what? Vipassana means seeing through the true nature of reality, or insight into the true nature of reality. It means seeing things as they truly are. Vipassana is the intuitive understanding of the true nature of all mental and physical phenomena of one's own mind and body. Vipassana is insight into the true nature of mind and body, which make up the five aggregates of existence: the body, the feelings, the memory, the mental formations, and the consciousness. Vipassana is the direct realization that all mental and physical phenomena are impermanent, they're suffering, and non-self. These three universal characteristics of all phenomena are the hallmarks of insight wisdom and are the main objects of Vipassana meditation. Vipassana is the direct realization of the true nature of mind and body. All conditions, whether internal or external, mental or material, are impermanent, suffering, and non-self. The meditator who develops insight knowledge, or Vipassana Yan, will realize that everything inside oneself and in the world outside of oneself is constantly changing, uncertain, or impermanent, is stressful, dissatisfactory, or suffering, is uncontrollable, or not belonging to oneself or non-self. The profound and liberating realization of these three characteristics is the true aim of Vipassana meditation. What is Satipatthana? Mindfulness. Sati is derived from the Pali word sar, which means to remember, to recollect. Sati means more than memory. It means contemplation, remembering, recollection, reflection, carefulness, attentiveness, or vigilance. Sati is often translated as mindfulness. Patan comes from the Pali word upatan, which means support, establishment, base, application, or foundation. Satipatthana is the Dhamma, the true natural law, state, or condition upon which one's attentive awareness may be cultivated in four bases, applications, or stations. Thus, we have the four foundations of mindfulness. The four foundations of mindfulness are Kayanupassana, mindfulness of body; Vetananupassana, mindfulness of feelings; Cittanupassana, mindfulness of the mind; Dhammanupassana, mindfulness of mind objects; In short, we can memorize Kai, Vedana, Jit, Tham, or body, feelings, mind objects. In the practice of the 4 foundations of mindfulness, one directs the attention and comprehensive awareness to observe and mentally note or acknowledge the various states which arise through the body and the mind in each moment. Mindfulness and awareness are aimed at observing the 3 characteristics arising through the 5 aggregates of existence, namely the mind and body, as they appear in the present moment. What is the history of mindfulness? It is said that at one time the Lord Buddha was traveling through the land of the Kurus, a tribe of people in the village of the town of the Kurus called Kama Sattama, near modern-day New Delhi in a suburb called Indrapastra, with a company of 500 monks. There the Lord Buddha took the opportunity to give a detailed discourse on the 4 foundations of mindfulness. According to tradition, Patantacharya Puttakosa in the Tika Nikaya Atthakatha and Majjhima Nikaya Atthakatha, the Kuru people were descended from a tribe of people who were full of wisdom and whose sense faculties were quite healthy and whose temperaments were well disposed to deep contemplation. The entire village practiced mindfulness as a matter of course in their daily activities, from the rulers to the workers, whether they were plowing the fields or pounding rice or administering the village, everybody applied the 4 foundations of mindfulness. They exhorted each other, "Which foundation of mindfulness are you practicing today?" Thus praising the ones who were ardently practicing by saying, "Well done, you have not wasted your birth as a human being. You have not wasted this rare opportunity to meet the teachings of the Lord Buddha, who has been born in the world for the benefit of people such as you," and censuring the ones who were lazy and negligent. "Even though you were born a human being, you are behaving as if dead." And so the Lord Buddha, inspired by the audience of these Kurus, who were very receptive and naturally mindful and profoundly contemplative, took the opportunity to remind the bhikkhus, the 500 brethren who accompanied him, on the value, technique, and benefits of the practice. There the Lord Buddha declared, "Ekayano ayang pikawe mako, satanang visutiya, sokaparitevanang samatikamaya, tukha tomanasanang atankamaya, yayasa atikamaya, nippanasa satikiriyaya, yadidanjataro satipatana ti." There is this one way, bhikkhus, to the purification of beings, to overcome sorrow and sadness, to freedom from pain and suffering, to realize the truth of life, the true noble path, to realize Nibbana, that is to say, the 4 foundations of mindfulness. Ekaya no ayang pikawe mako. There is this one way path, or there is this one way, bhikkhus. The Lord Buddha has taught the Ekaya no mak, which means the one-way path, or the only way. It is so called because it is a straight path. It is a one-way path. It does not branch. It leads solely in one direction. It is a path for one who leaves society, who retires into a secluded place to practice this path for oneself, in order to realize the truth by oneself. It is the path of the Lord Buddha himself, as he was the discoverer of this path. It is the path found only in the teachings of the exalted Buddha, not explicitly in other teachings. It is the path leading directly to one destination, Nibbana. Nibbana is the ultimate destination. All perfectly enlightened Buddhas, Samma Sambuddha, silent Buddhas, Paccekabuddha, and noble disciples, Arya Savok, have ultimately realized Nibbana by way of this path. All of the 84,000 teachings of the exalted Buddha eventually merge into this path. Thus, this path is the pinnacle of the Lord Buddha's teachings, leading to the highest good, the supreme happiness of Nibbana. This is the ultimate path. The practice of Satipatthana Vipassana contains the heart and essence of all the teachings of the perfectly enlightened Buddha. This truth teaching the Lord Buddha taught to all noble disciples, beginning from the beginning of his dispensation until he passed away into Parinibbana 45 years later. Not only did the Lord Buddha lead countless numbers of disciples to realize Nibbana by way of this path, the Lord Buddha also handed down the teachings to future generations of disciples with this guarantee. Ye neva yanti nibbanang Puttate Sancha Savaka, Eka Yanena Makena Satipatthana Sanyinati. All Buddhas and noble ones have realized Nibbana by following the one-way path of mindfulness. To the purification of beings. This path purifies the minds of beings. Greed, anger, and delusion, the mental defilements, kilesa, the negative mental states, which taint and pollute the minds of beings are the source of all suffering, can be reduced, uprooted, and destroyed as a result of satipatthana practice. Sati has the function to purify. The beings who practice this path can be purified. The practice of satipatthana vipassana purifies the mind of the practitioner first by attenuating the defilements and then by uprooting and destroying the latent mental impurities or anusaya, kilesa. The purification process may be gradual depending upon the meritorious, wholesome qualities, bun, kusun, and the accumulated perfections, bharami, and depending upon the unwholesome mental qualities of each individual. By virtue of this purification process, the defilements of an undeveloped person with gross latent defilements, an ordinary worldling or putuchon, could be reduced, allowing for the development of wholesome qualities, moral qualities, humanistic qualities of the heart and mind, thus becoming a more virtuous person, kalyanachon. If such a refined and virtuous person practiced satipatthana vipassana, the defilements would eventually be eradicated and destroyed, thus purifying the mind until such person realizes Nibbana and becomes a noble one, or Arya Bukkon. Even animals who have contact with this Dhamma practice can develop great wholesome consciousness, Mahakusala Jitta, and may be reborn in the heavenly realms, thus embarking on the path to purification, as in the stories of the Parakit who lived with the Bhikkhunis and the story of Manduka Tepabut, the frog deity. To overcome sorrow and sadness. This practice can help one who suffers from sorrow and sadness to overcome the past unfortunate experiences and to be freed from grief and despair. When the mind has become purified and the defilements are gradually subdued and eliminated, the mind becomes tranquilized and sorrow and sadness can be released. There was a lady from England who came to practice Vipassana. Before that, both she and her late husband ran a small air charter business. One day she was delayed getting to the airfield on time, and her husband took off without her. During the flight, the aircraft developed engine trouble and crashed, killing her husband. She was filled with grief, sorrow, and remorse. Nothing could ease her sorrow. After some months, she decided to go on a holiday to Asia and came to Thailand. After touring for some time, she was recommended to practice meditation and came to the center in Chaingmai. At first, her mind was full of sorrow and regret. She could not concentrate and she cried every day. But as the days passed by and she continued to practice mindfulness, she gained some relief and her mind became calm. Soon she realized that everything in the world is impermanent, that we cannot always control life to be as we want it to be, and that sometimes we cannot control events in life. As a result of this realization, she felt as if her sorrow and sadness had been lifted away, and she felt better prepared to begin her life again. This is one example from modern times. In the Lord Buddha's time, there were many persons healed by the practice and who also became enlightened, as illustrated in the Dhammapada story of Patachara, who lost her entire family in a single night. To freedom from pain and suffering. This path leads one who suffers from pain of illness or injury or physical or mental suffering to overcome such sufferings. There are many cases in modern days of people who practicing mindfulness were relieved and even healed of various diseases. High blood pressure, heart disease, ulcers, allergies, tumors, cancer, autoimmune diseases, and stroke have been relieved. Recently, there was a young novice from Israel who suffered leukemia since he was an infant. His parents were both meditators and had him ordain and practice at age 11. As he practiced more and more, he regained his health, and to this day, he is strong and healthy. The cancer cleared from his blood. Indeed, purity of the mind plays a major role in regaining one's health, as does curing of karma habits and condition formations. There are other cases of those nearing their final breath who, when practicing mindfulness, were able to overcome pain and suffering and pass away peacefully. We hear many stories in modern times of students from the temple passing away peacefully, monks, nuns, lay people, just as in the story of Tissa Thera, an example from the Lord Buddha's time. To attain the right path. The one who practices this path will surely attain the true path, the Noble Eightfold Path, the Aryamat. How can this be realized in the practice of Satipatthana Vipassana? Wherever morality, concentration, and wisdom arise while walking in meditation, even in a single step, or while contemplating, rising and falling, even for a single breath, there the cultivation and development of the Noble Eightfold Path factors exist. The careful attention observing the rising and falling is morality. The focused attention absorbed on the rising and falling is concentration. The mind knowing and understanding the rising or falling is wisdom. In this way, morality, concentration, and wisdom can arise within mindfulness of the rising and falling. Wherever morality, concentration, and wisdom arise, so too does the Noble Eightfold Path. The Noble Eightfold Path consists of 8 factors, which are right view, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. These 8 path factors are condensed into 3 groups called the Threefold Training, or Traisikha, which are the basis of all the Lord Buddha's teachings. We have Sila, morality or virtue. We have Samadhi, concentration. We have Panya, wisdom. The Noble Path factors of right view and right thought comprise the training of wisdom. The Noble Path factors of right speech, right action, right livelihood are included in the training of morality. The Noble Path factors of right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration are all contained in the training of concentration. Wherever morality, concentration, and wisdom arise, the Noble Eightfold Path also exists. Within each present moment where morality, concentration, and wisdom arise, the Noble Eightfold Path factors can all be found. Therefore, wherever the 4 foundations of mindfulness exist, so too does the Noble Eightfold Path. How does the Noble Eightfold Path arise in Satipatthana Vipassana practice? Every step and every breath taken with mindfulness in the present moment activates the Noble Eightfold Path factors. When we take even one step, right goes thus, with complete attention, with mindfulness, the Noble Eightfold Path factors arise. Every moment that one mindfully contemplates right goes thus, left goes thus, or rising, falling, with clear awareness and careful attention, noting the movement of the foot or of the rising and falling of the abdomen, that careful attention and heedfulness is morality. The careful effort and heedfulness to stay with the meditation object, not straying after desire, hatred, or folly. The attentive effort to remain with the meditation exercise is moral restraint, the training of virtue. Each moment that the mind is skillfully applied to the meditation object and remains mindful in the present moment, mindfully noting right goes thus, mindfully noting left goes thus, focused on rising, focused on falling, not confused, not wandering or straying, remaining fixed on the meditation object, applying effort to stay with the meditation object, mindful of the body, feelings, mind, and mind object. This concentrated effort leads one to develop momentary concentration, kanika samadhi, and the deeper levels of concentration. The mind thus concentrated fulfills the training of concentration group of the Eightfold Path. When one develops concentration, then wisdom will arise. Knowing the rising, knowing the falling, discerning the mind, discerning the body, realizing cause and effect, penetrating and understanding impermanent, suffering, non-self, the profound realization of the 3 characteristics leading to the attainment of the 4 noble truths and the Noble Eightfold Path. This is knowledge and wisdom of the truth of life, of the true path of life, of the path leading to the cessation of all suffering. This correct understanding fulfills the training of wisdom group of the Noble Eightfold Path. Thus, within the mindful contemplation of rising and falling, morality, concentration, and wisdom, and the Noble Eightfold Path factors can arise, be perfected, and fulfilled. To realize Nibbana, or Nirvana, The one who practices this path will eventually realize Nibbana according to one's accumulated merit and perfection, effort and determination in the course, and according to one's effort and determination in the course of the practice. The Lord Buddha has declared that if one sincerely practiced mindfulness continuously from this moment for 7 years or until the moment of death, which comes first, one of the two results may be attained: the state of anakami, a non-returner with no desire or anger remaining, or the state of arahant, a worthy one, the highest attainment with no defilements remaining and thus not subject to rebirth. The practice of Satipatthana Vipassana is the heart of all the Lord Buddha's teachings. It is the most important of all the teachings. It is the central and key teaching of all Buddhas, the key teaching to the enlightenment and the practice path tread by all perfectly enlightened Buddhas, silent Buddhas, and noble disciples. These are the 5 aims of this path to purity: to the purification of beings, to overcome sorrow and sadness, to the freedom from pain and suffering, to realize the truth and the right path, to attain Nibbana, the end of suffering. The most direct method or way to realize these 5 aims is to apply the 4 foundations of mindfulness. The 5 aims are true benefits which can be realized in this lifetime. What is the method and the way to attain these 5 aims? The 4 foundations of mindfulness. We have mindfulness of body, kayanupassana, mindfulness of feelings, vijnananupassana, mindfulness of the mind, cittanupassana, and mindfulness of mind objects, dhammanupassana. Mindfulness of the body. The foundation of mindfulness of the body includes careful contemplation and mindful awareness of all the movements and positions of the body, iriyabot. This means applying sati to the 4 major positions: standing, walking, sitting, lying down. While standing, mindfully contemplating standing, standing, standing. While walking, mindfully contemplating right goes thus, left goes thus, or right, left, or walking, walking, walking. While sitting, mindfully contemplating rising, falling, or breathing in, breathing out. Mindfully noting sitting, sitting, sitting. While reclining or lying down, mindfully contemplating rising, falling, or breathing in, breathing out, or lying, 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 while contemplating the reclining position. And applying sati to all the minor positions, such as raising, lowering, turning, lifting, bending, stretching, opening, closing, etc. In other words, all movements and activities of the body can become our main objects of meditation if performed slowly and carefully with complete attention and mindfulness. Contemplation of each movement should be noted as continuously as possible without a break in every activity. In our center, the main objects which we study include 3 exercises. We have the mindful prostration, mindful walking meditation, and then sitting meditation, focusing on the rising and falling movements of the breath. These 3 exercises combine mindfulness of the major and minor positions of the body. While doing the mindful prostration, we contemplate the movements of the hands, such as turning, turning, or raising, raising, touching, touching. While walking meditation, we contemplate the movements of the feet, noting right goes thus, left goes thus. While sitting meditation, we contemplate the natural movement of the abdomen while relaxed and breathing normally. This is a type of mindfulness of breathing. We can contemplate and mindfully note as rising, falling, or during the sitting, we might note rising, falling, or sitting, sitting, or rising, falling, sitting, touching, according to the teacher's instructions. These are the different methods of contemplating mindfulness of the body in the major and minor positions. Mindfulness of feelings. In the mindfulness of feeling, the meditator contemplates 3 main types of feeling as they arise: feeling a happy feeling, or a suffering feeling, or a neutral feeling. We become mindful and acknowledge them as happy, 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 suffering, 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 or neutral, neutral, neutral. Regardless of whether the feeling is an emotional or sensual feeling, we note them as they occur. Feelings can be experienced on the emotional or sensory aspect. Regardless of whether it's happy, unhappy, or neutral, they should be mindfully contemplated. When experiencing a pleasant feeling with the mindfulness intact, the defilement of greed or desire will not arise. If the mindfulness is not activated, the pleasant feeling may give rise to attachment or desire for more pleasant feelings. When experiencing a painful or suffering feeling with mindfulness intact, the defilement of anger will not arise. If mindfulness is not activated, the painful feeling may give rise to aversion or anger towards the painful feeling. When experiencing a neutral feeling with mindfulness intact, the defilement of delusion will not arise. If mindfulness is not activated, the neutral feeling may give rise to ignorance or delusion regarding the neutral feeling. Mindfulness of the mind. The foundation of mindfulness of the mind includes mindful contemplation of all the states of consciousness, mind states, or thoughts as they arise in the mind. Thus, one contemplates the mind by mindfully noting the wholesome, beneficial thoughts and mind states, or unwholesome, negative thoughts or mind states, whether good thoughts or bad thoughts, past, present, future. We can mindfully contemplate them as soon as they arise in the present moment, noting thinking, or knowing. When contemplating mindfulness of the mind, one can mindfully note the various states of mind or consciousness states as they arise according to the present condition. Mindfulness of mind objects includes mindful contemplation of any of the groups of Dhammas or conditioned phenomena as they arise in the present moment. We have the 5 aggregates of the body and the mind: the physical, the feeling, the memory, the mental formations, and consciousness. When one is mindfully noting rising and falling of the abdomen in sitting meditation, one is contemplating these 5 aggregates. The action and physical characteristics of the abdomen is the physical aggregate. The mindfulness noting the rising and falling is the mental aggregate. Mindfulness of the various actions and physical phenomena that occur, such as rising, falling, lifting, moving, bending, is contemplation of the body and physical aggregate. Mindfulness of various mental phenomena that arise, feeling, remembering, thinking, sensing, knowing, is contemplation of the mental aggregates. We have also, as mind objects, the 5 hindrances: sensual desire, anger, sloth and torpor, worry or restlessness, and doubt. When craving or desire arises, we can note it as craving, desire. When anger, dissatisfaction arises, we can note as angry. When feeling sleepy or sloth or lazy, we can note it as sleepy. If anxiety or worry arise, we can note as worry. If doubt or skepticism arises, we can note it as doubting. We have as mind objects the 6 sense bases: the eye, the visible object and seeing; the ear, the sound and hearing; the nose, the scent and smelling; the tongue, taste and tasting; the body, the contact and feeling; the mind, the ideas and thinking. When seeing an object, we can note as seeing. When hearing a sound, we can note as hearing. When smelling a smell, we can note as smelling. When tasting a taste, we can note as tasting. When touching something, we can note it as touching. When thinking a thought, we can note as thinking. The other mind objects include 7 enlightenment factors, the 4 noble truths. The noble eightfold path will begin to arise as one's practice progresses. To summarize, the practice of the 4 foundations of mindfulness is simply applying and cultivating mindfulness to contemplate and mentally note in each present moment whatever conditions arise through the body and through the mind. What are we doing? What are we feeling? What are we thinking? How are we reacting? In this way, we can contemplate in the present moment, not in the past, not in the future, not even 1 second away. For one who practices even a short period of time, the Lord Buddha has further guaranteed the realization of Nibbana in the future with the following assurances. The least that we gain is mindfulness. When one is near death, one will have the mindfulness arising in the moment of death. All of the wholesome and meritorious deeds which one has cultivated will converge in the moment of death, bringing one a happy, a peaceful, and purified mind state in the moment of death. Second will be the rebirth in the heavenly realms. A peaceful mind at the moment of death will enable one to be reborn in the happy abodes or the heavenly realms. Third will be what is called Upanishad. If one must be reborn, the potential to realize Nibbana has been germinated, if not in the present lifetime, then in a future lifetime. And fourth, ultimately, if one continues to practice, one will realize Nibbana. If one continues to practice Satipatthana, if it's possible continuously in this lifetime, ardently for 7 years, one may realize one of two results in this lifetime, either the stage of non-returner, one who will be reborn in the pure abodes a final time before entering Nibbana, or a worthy one, an arahant, an enlightened person who is no longer subject to rebirth and who will pass into Nibbana. In conclusion, to quote Most Venerable Lompu, to all of you, of the ways to the purification of the mind, there is this one-way path, as pointed out by the Lord Buddha, which is the 4 foundations of mindfulness. If we wish to overcome suffering and find true peace and happiness in this life, we would be wise to diligently practice Vipassana via the 4 foundations of mindfulness. This is the most direct way to overcome suffering. A life without meditation is like an empty and unused field. A life without mental development, bhavana, is like a plate without food. It becomes useless. This endless cycle of samsara can be compared to a vast ocean of which the far shore cannot be seen. Sentient beings fall into this ocean and cannot find the other shore. But if we can practice Vipassana via the 4 foundations of mindfulness to the realization of the path, fruition, even in the lower stages, and become a noble one, we would be able to swim towards the other side and see the shore ahead. We would begin to cross the sea of samsara. As we continue to swim along, that is, as we continue to practice, in no long time, we will arrive at the other shore. We will reach Nibbana. This means the realization of true peace and happiness. He further taught, to all of you devoted Buddhists and Dhamma practitioners, to see a noble one, Pa Arya Chao, or to visit a noble one, is a good thing to do, but it is not nearly as good as practicing and developing oneself until becoming a noble one. Lompu taught, I sincerely wish that we can all direct our efforts to increasing the power of wisdom and peace in the world by practicing and applying the Buddhist teachings, to raise up and brighten our hearts and minds, and by spreading and sharing the teachings on this one-way path of the Lord Buddha with others, so that we can all reach the ultimate destination, the final graduation of life, which is Nibbana. As pointed out by the perfectly enlightened Buddha, Nibbana exists. The path to Nibbana exists. The one who pointed out the path exists. If you do not walk along this path, how will you ever reach Nibbana? In conclusion, I wish to dedicate the merit of this Dhamma talk to my most venerable teacher, Jaukun Prapoma Mongkon Wait Lumpu Tong Sili Mankalo, and to my beloved father. May the meritorious power of this Dhamma discourse on the Mahasatipatthana Sutta bring good health, long life, peaceful happiness for our most venerable ajahns, the abbots, the parents, the teachers, the family and friends, and for all of us devoted Buddhists and Vipassana yogis and Dhamma practitioners here today, and lead us all to realize Magpo Nibbana very soon.
Thank you. Thank you. And now you have any other questions? Yeah, the Casey or Kong or Vicky? Okay.
Yeah, we have a few questions. Thank you so much for that wonderful talk. That was just wonderful. The first question we have is from Alice. How do we maintain peace and happiness from moment to moment as we can't practice meditation at all times in our daily life?
That's the point. Actually, according to the Satipatthana Sutta, we can be mindful every moment. And once we are mindful every moment, then the mind will stay in the peaceful state. It won't be wandering around into the dangerous territory. If it does, we just pull it back to present moment. It does take constant training. And that's why I told the little short story about the Kuru people of India, because at the Buddhist time, there were a whole tribe of people. They say there were crores of those people, like millions, tens of millions of those people, all practicing. So it can be done. We have to remind each other to be mindful. So it might mean just coming back to basics. What are you doing? standing, sitting, walking, lying down, bending, stretching, raising, or what are you thinking? What are you feeling? And it requires a certain amount of restraint. It requires a certain amount of careful attention and cultivation. And so in this method, we train the students as well, mindfulness in the daily activities. So anything that you do with your body, technically, from the moment you wake up until you go to sleep at night, you do a lot of small things with your body. You get up, you go to the toilet, you drink water, you make coffee, you brush your teeth, you take a shower, all those little movements. Once we're mindful, we can be meditating in those moments. And the mind that's in that moment, the mind that's pure, it's not going to be with greed, anger, delusion, or it will be relatively less. It won't be activated. And then when that happens, we can start promoting by nature of mindfulness. The function of mindfulness is that it beautifies. It's called a sopana chetasik, which means it's a beautiful mental component. It will beautify the mind. It will purify the mind. It will bring about the rise of all the positive and the beneficial, and it will dissolve, it will neutralize, it will remove like a detoxifier the negative states. And so it's actually the smallest and simplest thing, but it works. It's very amazing. So I hope we can encourage each other all to be practicing.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Another question we have is how do mindfulness and meditation support each other, and how do we apply both of them to our daily life? Well,
in the long discourses, they talk about three elements. One is atapi, another sampachano, and another satima. And so in my short introduction, I couldn't get into all of these details, but atapi, sampachano, satima, it means ardent effort. We have to want and love the practice enough that we just keep doing it. We keep trying again and again. Sampachano means a clear awareness. It means you kind of have a basic understanding of the direction and the things that you're doing. Just like when you drive a car, you kind of know where you're going. Satima is that careful attention, that attentive moment to moment adjusting and taking care of the small things that you do while you're driving your car. Do you understand? We have all those elements applied in our daily life. We naturally have them. We just need to utilize them. And so the actual practice, like formal meditation in the morning or in the evening, so when you wake up in the morning and you do your formal practice, maybe a little walking or sitting, and then at night before you go to bed, you do maybe a little walking or sitting, or after your evening chanting, you do a little sitting meditation. That will help to frame your day. And if you can then throughout, after you do your morning practice, throughout the day, become more and more aware, what are you doing with your body, especially when you don't have to think too much. I think nowadays, one of the dangers that we have is that in this information technology here, we spend a lot of time in our heads. We forget our body, we forget our feelings, and then we get cramped up around these negative mind states, especially on the social media. So we have to remember to come back to the body. And then when those negative states arise, we need to learn to reflect on them as well. It's an outside thing. It's a mind thing. It's a thought, thing. It's not I, me, or mine. And so if we can remind ourselves to be mindful, morning and evening practice will work sort of like you take a drink of water when you need to. It helps to clear, or a Chomtong, he would say it's like plugging in the battery. You recharge your battery. Or some will say it's like sharpening a knife. If you're the barber, you sharpen the razor, and then when you want to shave, it's very easy to shave. And so it's a good brush up practice. We need to do it. Just like we need to brush our teeth every day, we need to freshen ourselves up. So meditation in the morning, meditation in the afternoon if you have time. And especially for people who are in a kind of, I hate to use the word lockdown situation, it could be a very good opportunity to start practicing mindfulness. And I don't want to advertise, but we were actually conducting some retreats by Skype. And so in the case that you really couldn't find a teacher, that is also possible. And I'm sure that Ajahn Liti also gives his teachings to his students, as do the other Lompas here and abbots here with us today. And it's something that we can pursue. I think it's a good time to do it because outside activities have been reduced quite a bit. So if we have time, it's a gift for us to take advantage of that time.
Wonderful. And then the last question we have here is, what is the greatest benefit you've gotten in your life from practicing Vipassana?
Well, I don't know if my mom would agree that it's a great benefit, but it completely changed my life, I have to say. And that if I go back in time and I look at the path that I was on and the path that I was on before and the path that I was on now. I think if I stayed on that path that I was on before, I would probably be in Portland or someplace like that, smashing other people over the head, as they are seeing on YouTube videos. It was not a wholesome path. And so what this did was completely change the path of my life. And I saw that the path that I was on was very dangerous, and not only for myself, but for all of the people around me. And I had to take a very a strong step, which means to step away from it in a way that could help as many people as possible, short of ordaining as a nun, which maybe is my retirement. But so in the meantime, I'm practicing as a lay practitioner, and that was the result of a very deep understanding in the meditation that I saw the danger of the samsara of the world, and especially in California, where I was living. I had a very strong feelings that it's a place we need to have a lot of mindfulness down there. We cannot live the way of the worldly people. It's on fire, as you can see. So it's a kind of personal answer, but yes. So any more questions or comments? I mean, I can tell more of my story, but that's kind of boring.
And excuse me, when will the next party? May I have question?
Yes.
When will the next party? I mean the meeting maybe. When will next party?
We have on Saturday, every Saturday.
What time is it? Very interested. I want to follow.
I think it's so happy.
Okay.
Hi, Mom. Hi, Mom. Yes, well, I'll be happy to speak anytime, Casey, if you think it's useful. Longpo, if you think it's useful, I'm free. So
yeah, maybe you can tell a little bit your duty at the temple in Thailand, and maybe anyone interesting, and they can go and they can spend the time in the temple, and they can spend to meditate and in the temple.
Yes. And normally the center is open, ongoing, with about 3-week-long residential courses, which are conducted on a donation basis. The students come in, and we do the formal opening ceremony with the Ajahn. And the video, which I just sent to Ajahn Liti, is a long talk of Ajahn Tong's opening ceremony. I was afraid our internet would get cut off, so I sent him a just in case. And I put the subtitles in, but it's an introduction to Vipassana meditation on that video. In any case, we have residential courses. People follow 8 precepts if they can. They'll be doing meditation practice throughout the day. And it becomes intensive at the end of the practice. The exercises of mindful walking and sitting continually, bringing up mindfulness so that we can develop what are called the stages of insight. And so also in today's talk, I wasn't able to get into that, but the stages of knowledge will arise as we work with the mindfulness. And those do lead to these insights that are liberating and help us to navigate through the suffering of life and out the other end, which would be to Nibbana or Nirvana. And the courses are individual. They means when you come, you start, and you have a daily interview with the teacher, and the instructions are given individually. So if you're elderly and you need assistance walking or sitting, you will accommodate for that. Or if you're a young person, very young person who also is restless, we can accommodate and instruct accordingly. And we do have students from all over the world with a special interest in Thai, a lot of Thai people this period and young people. Now that they're opening up again, we're having many more young monks and nuns and students coming in when they can, families coming in. And so that's what we're doing here. In the past, we had been given courses a few times at what Washington Puttawanaram in Auburn.
Yeah, long time ago. I met him long time.
Yeah.
I met
it's been a while.
Yeah, yes.
It's been a while, and the reason that the students were not free at the time that we were free, or something like that. But it's also possible that if we're in the Northwest, we'd be happy to teach. However, they are residential courses, and so it's ideal. It doesn't have to be. I mean, you could do it from your home and then do an interview by phone. But if it's a new student, then we like to be able to see the student and make sure that everything's okay with them. And so a daily interview is usually requested. Although we've done longer courses with weekly interview, that's more difficult if you're working or you have family activities going on. But it can be done also. And so that's one way that we do. And yeah. I'm very, very happy that you invited me to speak. I've kind of been cloistered the last few months. And we have a few students. It's mostly our residents who are here, not incoming because they have a strict quarantine and people aren't flying in right now. But it may open up eventually. I've been working on translations of Ajah's teachings now that he's passed away in December. And we've had this funeral going on since then. Every day they're doing the funeral chanting. And so we've been taking the old videotapes that we have and putting in subtitles and things like that. It's very sad. Yeah. It's very sad for people.
His teaching still remain.
Yes, his teaching. His
teaching still going on.
Yes, his teaching is still.
Yes.
And many students who are continuing. So there is a promising generation of young monks and nuns. And Ajahn is one of the teachers who really promoted nuns as well for ladies who are interested.
Yeah,
and not only mechis, but he can't, not officially, but he promoted some nuns who later became bhikkhunis. And so they are also doing their duty. We have one of our students is a bhikkhuni in Germany.
In Germany, okay.
In Germany, yeah.
Okay.
So
you remember that when we went to visiting him the last year before he passed away, just 1 week.
Yes, it was so close. Yeah, I'm thinking, you were so lucky to see him.
One of my friends, and he gave us one rope, one set of the rope.
Yes.
I saved that rope, I said rope.
Yes. Yes, everything that we have, we're saving them. We're very blessed to, it's after he's passing. I mean, we always knew he was a special person, but after he passed, it became really clear how much of the world he was holding up. You'll notice as soon as he passed, the COVID and all of these strange things started in a very strong way. And we need to activate all of us to become his extension for the planet.
And Ajahn Tong, we can say that Ajahn Tong never died. He never died because we carry on the teaching.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, don't worry. For the physical, it can be like that,
Yes, true.
For the teaching is very, very important. But thank you very much for your Dhamma talk today. Very nice.
And I wanted to bring as much merit for all of us so that we can share to all of our friend and family and metta and namasakan to Lom Paด้วยนะคะLom Pa, we're thinking of all of you and wondering how are you doing with the COVID. And I mean, we had to start asking people to send us donations because it was getting a little difficult for the temple. We're donating rice every day. We normally we don't like to do that, but we've kind of had to do that. So it's a time to be really mindful and count our blessings and try to increase those as well. And so we wish to share the merit to all of you, especially to Lompa and Jokun, and wishing you long life, happiness, beauty, progress, healthy, and also to my mother and my sister, wherever you are in there. We wish you very healthy and happy, and all of the children and all of the students and Dhamma practitioners and young monks who are studying, and the Dhamma missionaries who are studying. I know it's not easy, but if you need English, I was in Modular giving Dhamma and meditation in English curriculum. If people are interested, I'm very happy to help. So if you ever need help, Casey, please contact, or Tanajan, please contact as you like. Okay.
Okay.
I'm happy.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, this is the time to the end now, and then to invite Long Po to pay respect to the Triple Gem one more time. Okay, Long Po นิมนต์ครับ
อะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธภะคะวาพุทธังภะคะวันตังอะภิวาเทวากาโตภะคะวะตาธัมโมธัมมังนะมัสสามิโยปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆสังฆังนะมาสาธุสาธุ
กราบนมัสการหลวงพ่อสาธุอภรทังธรรมะ
Very good. Very good. Fit in.